Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, hello. My name is AbsolutelySha, and once a week I like to come to you with what I call true crime story time. So, if you are a true crime fanatic like myself, then I am inviting you to go ahead, hit that subscribe button right now, click the notification bell so that each and every time I upload a new video, you will be the first to find out. Now, occasionally I do videos on unboxings and hauls, but for the most part, once a week, I definitely like to come to you with a true crime story. So if that is your cup of tea, and if you really like true crime stories, then definitely you should stick around, check out my channel, and become a subscriber. Duh. So anyway, so as you know by the title, today I'm coming to you with another true crime story, and let me tell you, this one is crazy. Like, it's so crazy. So if you are ready, because I am so ready to talk to you about today's story. So without further ado, let's get into today's true crime story time. So today I am going to share with you the true crime of Ed Gein. Now, I am so sorry if I am pronouncing his last name wrong. It's spelled Gein. I think it's pronounced Gein, but please, the pronunciation police, do not come for me. I apologize again if I am saying his name wrong. Okay, we got that out the way. Okay, so today's story is about Ed Gein. He was born August 27th, 1906 in La Crosse County, Wisconsin. His dad name was George, his mom name was Augusta, and he had an older brother by the name of Henry. Now, Ed's dad was an alcoholic, so that left his mom to really be the one to like take charge and really be the responsible parent to raise their boys. Now, the mom, however, had her own set of issues, because word is that she was like a religious fanatic, right? So she will often talk about lust and sin, and she really preached to her boys about the dangers of the world, okay? But she like overdid it. Like, it's okay, whatever your religious preference is, that's fine, but she was like she overdid it, okay? Now, it's said that Ed's dad, he had odd jobs. Even though he was alcoholic, he was able to hold down odd jobs here and there. He worked as a carpenter, but he also was the owner of a grocery store. So in around about 1915, Augusta, Ed's mom, decided to move the family to Plainfield, Wisconsin, and it was like this desolate farmland area that they wanted to move to. And how they were able to afford to move there was that Ed's dad, George, sold his grocery store, and so they used the money from that to move the family to Plainfield, Wisconsin. Now, growing up as a child, Ed and his brother pretty much were like isolated. Like, the only thing that they were allowed to do was to leave the property, leave the home to go to school, and then they had to return right back home from school. And so growing up as a kid, classmates and teachers said that Ed had like strange mannerisms. So socially, he was socially awkward, but academic wise, he seemed to do really good with reading. Now, when the boys would go to school, come back home, of course they did their chores around the house, and then every single evening, Augusta would take out the Bible, read from the Old Testament. However, she chose Bible verses that dealt with murder and death, and she talked to her boys heavily about how all women are naturally promiscuous, and how they are instruments of the devil. But don't get it mistaken, Miss Augusta isn't like that. So Augusta told her boys that all these other women out in the world are very promiscuous and instruments of the devil, but she's not. Like, what? Okay, so as you can see, the dynamics of that household was pretty crazy. You got the dad that's the alcoholic, and you got Augusta, the mom, that's like a religious fanatic, telling her boys that all women are instruments of the devil and naturally promiscuous. So those poor boys, this is what they're dealing with as they're growing up, right? So with Ed, even though the dynamics of his mom really preaching religion to them and keeping them isolated pretty much from everyone else, he still had this love for his mother, which is okay. So he really loved and was really close to his mother, Augusta. Now, in 1940, unfortunately, Ed's dad passes away. And he passed away due to heart failure, most likely linked to his alcoholism. And so that leaves just Ed, his older brother Henry, and his mom, Augusta. So Ed and Henry would, of course, do odd jobs around town to help maintain and keep up the household. It's said that they did odd jobs and that Ed worked as a babysitter. So he really took a liking to babysitting, and he liked being with children more so than really interacting and dealing with adults. And so that pretty much was how they really helped to contribute to still maintain the farm and all of the land that they had, because they stayed on a pretty nice sizable piece of land, their property that they had. Then this is where, okay, so listen to this part. So the dad passes away in 1940, okay? In the year of 1944, Ed is out on the property and he's burning like marsh on the property, right? And so the fire gets out of control. The police department is alerted. They come to the property and they pretty much spend the whole entire day putting out the fire, right? And so they leave, and all of a sudden, Eddie boy calls the police and tells them that his brother is missing. They come to the property, they do a search, and they find Henry dead, lying face down, okay? And so they ruled his death as due to heart failure because they didn't find any burns or they didn't find any injuries. So they just said, okay, he died of heart failure, right? Now, let me tell you this. Before George's death, George is the dad. Before Henry's death, Henry was talking to Ed about, he had some concerns about the attachment that he had with their mom, because Henry at this point is probably thinking like, why do you have such this weird obsession with our mom, right? So he was talking to Ed about it, and then Ed would get very defensive, like he didn't like it when Henry would say anything bad about their mom. Like he was not for it. Ed is like, you are not gonna talk bad about my mama, okay? So I'm not saying that this happened right next to Henry passing away, but it's said that Henry would have these conversations with Ed, okay? Now you can form your own belief on what you think happened. Do you think Ed killed his brother? I think Ed has something to do with killing his brother because, mind you, Henry is talking to him about, he got some concerns about him being so weirdly attached to their mama and how, mom is kind of crazy, cuckoo. And then what do you know? Henry ends up dead. So I totally think Ed has something to do with that. But that's not even the nitty gritty of this story. So Henry passes away in 1944. Shortly thereafter, Henry's passing, Ed's mom, Augusta, suffers from a stroke, okay? And so Ed, of course, is still, doing odd jobs here and there, trying to maintain the household so that he can care and nurture his mom back to good standing health, right? So in 1945, sometime around 1945, Augusta has another stroke. So she suffers from a second stroke. And this second stroke really deteriorates her health. And unfortunately, in December of 1945, Augusta passes away. So now Eddie Boy is left all alone. His dad has passed away, his brother has passed away, his mom has passed away, and his mom probably to him was the most devastating death out of his family because she was the one that he was so close to and so attached to, and he took on her every word and everything about her. So for him, losing his mom totally changed him. Now let me tell you what happens following the death of his mother. His mom's death, this is what Ed did. He pretty much let the rest of the house become like a hoarder's nest. Like he literally let like mounds and mounds of dirt and dust and just like everything. The house became a hoarder's house, except the rooms that his mom spent the most time in. So like the upstairs and downstairs parlor, the living room, like those rooms that his mom frequented often was like in pristine shape. Like he kept them as is and boarded them up. Now, the rest of the house, like I said, became like a hoarder's nest. And then Ed himself, he took a room off from the kitchen, and that's where he stayed and he lived. And also it says that Ed started, remember I said as growing up as a child, he really was really good with reading. And so he would start as an adult now after his mom passing. He, of course, read magazines, but there's specific kind of magazines that he liked. He liked to read Nazi magazines about Nazi atrocities, and he also took a liking to reading magazines about cannibalism. I know. Okay. So that has now happened since the passing of his mother. Now, in November of 1957, there is a hardware store owner in Plainfield, Wisconsin, where Ed has lived for the most part for his childhood into adulthood. There is a hardware store owner by the name of Bernice Warden, and she disappears. No one knows where she is. No one has seen her. And so a Plainfield resident said that morning at 9:30, they saw the hardware store's truck exiting the back of the building, the back of the store. And other than that, the store had been closed all day, and no one really suspected that as being odd because during this time it was deer hunting season. So no one really found it odd that the store was closed. Now, this is where things get a little bit interesting. So, Bernice has a son that is a deputy sheriff, and his name is Frank Warden. And Frank Warden tells officers that Ed Gein was at the mom's store and that he was there the previous evening and that he said he would return the next morning for a gallon of antifreeze. And so, of course, police, are starting to investigate and look into Ed Gein. Now, they find a sales receipt written out the morning of, so the morning that Bernice disappeared, they find a sales receipt that she had written for Ed Gein for the gallon of antifreeze. So, of course, the police at this point is like, okay, we need to talk to Ed. They find Ed. He was at a West Plainfield grocery store. They find Ed. They take him into custody. And they have another set of officers that goes to his property. They go to his house. Let me tell you. This is where, this is like, I don't even mean to laugh because this is sick. This is disgusting. Okay, so they have Ed in custody, and then they have officers over at his house. So they're searching his property. One of the officers comes across a shed. He opens the shed. Inside the shed, he sees Bernice Warden's body. She's hanging upside down from her legs. She has a crowbar at her ankles, and she has ropes at a risk. Okay. Her torso has been dressed like a deer. Like, you know, when people go deer hunting, they open up the chest cavity of the deer. Her torso was opened, ripped open, and carved like a deer. Her whole chest cavity carved open. Okay. She was shot by a .22 caliber rifle, and these things were done to her after her death. So these mutilations were done to her after her death, okay? Can you, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what that poor officer, like the emotions, what he was feeling when he comes across this shed and he sees that. Not only that, but her head is missing. Her head is missing, okay? Sick. That's not even the icing on the cake, okay? Not even the icing on the cake. So this is what they find in the shed. Now inside the house, they find the most disgusting things, okay? I literally had to have them written down so that because I wanted to make sure that I read off every single thing that they found in his house. This is what they found, because they found so many things, and I really want you to get the picture of how sick Eddie Boy was, okay? So this is what they found inside of Ed's house. They found whole human bones and fragments, a waste basket made of human skin covering chair seats, skulls on his bedpost, female skulls, some with the tops sawed off. Why did I say sewn off? Sawed off. Bowls made from human skulls, a corset made from a female torso skinned from shoulders to waist, leggings made from human leg skin, masks made from the skin of female heads, Mary Hogan's face mask in a paper bag, Mary Hogan's skull in a box, 9 vulvas in a shoebox, a young girl's dress and the vulvas of 2 females judged to have been about 15 years old, a belt made from female nipples, 4 noses, a pair of lips on a window shade drawing, a lampshade made from the skin of a human face, and fingernails from female fingers. Now, here's another shocking discovery. In 1954, a woman by the name of Mary Hogan, she was the owner of a tavern, and she went missing. She disappeared. No one had seen her since 1954. Well, guess what they found amongst all of the other things that I just told you? They found Mary Hogan's face mask in a paper bag, and they found Mary Hogan's skull in a box. These are all the things they found in Ed's property. So needless to say, they immediately took him into custody. I can't even imagine what those officers were thinking as they came upon all that stuff that they were discovering. Like, I would have been sick to my stomach. Like, can you imagine coming across all of that? And like, I don't know how big Plainfield, Wisconsin is, but if it's like one of those small towns, like, can you imagine this guy that you've seen here and there around town, and then you hear the news about what the police discovered inside his house? However, they did say as he was growing up that he had strange mannerisms. So I wonder, when the townsfolk found out about what the police discovered in his home, did they feel like, oh, well, I always knew it was something strange about him. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. Like, I can't imagine being a police officer and searching that property and coming across all of those things. Oh my gosh, like that is insane. Okay, I digress. Okay, so police, of course, tell Ed during the interrogation about all the things that they have found in his home. Now, Ed makes a confession to officers that he has had at least 40 visits to the cemetery, right? And so he would say that he would have like these nocturnal moments where at least 40 times he has visited graves in the cemetery. Out of the 40 times, 30 of those times he woke up out of this daze and I guess he went back home. However, 9 of those visits, Ed admits to digging up the graves of 9 middle-aged women. And the reason why he specifically did these middle-aged women is because they resembled his mom. They reminded him of his mother. And so this is where he would dig up the graves and he would take the bodies and he would tan the skin. And this is where he would make his human paraphernalia. Okay? Sick. So that's what he would do. And so it's reported that once his mom passed away, like Ed was like, he wanted to make like a woman's suit, right? So that he could literally crawl into his mother's skin. Like, this dude was crazy. He was crazy. Like, he wanted to make a woman's suit so that he could literally crawl into his mother's skin. Like, are you kidding me? What? So he does admit, however, okay, so this is what he tells psychiatrists and doctors and stuff, right? He says that he doesn't know if the killing of Bernice Warden, which she's the woman that owned the hardware store, he doesn't know if that was intentional or accidental, because he says that when he went to the store, he was testing out a gun and that he was loading the gun with bullets and the rifle went off. So he says. And he doesn't remember anything else that happened that morning. Okay. He also says that he did shoot Mary Hogan, but that's it. He doesn't remember anything else concerning her death. Okay. So quite naturally, he's definitely under arrest for, all of the craziness and sickness that they had discovered in his home, for sure. So in November 21st, 1957, of course, Ed is ready to stand trial, and his defense was not guilty by reason of insanity. Now, the courts did agree with that, and they did deem him unfit to stand trial, and so they shipped him off to Central State Hospital for the criminally insane. Now, in 1968, they feel like, okay, Ed's ready to stand trial alongside his counsel and his defense attorneys. And so the defense attorneys, however, did ask that Ed stand trial without jury. They wanted him to have no jury. So therefore, the judge proceeding over the case, which was Judge Robert Galmar. So Judge Galmar was basically proceeding over the trial, listening to the prosecution, listening to the defense, and then he would come up with, the verdict for Ed. Now, he did find Ed guilty, and then Ed had to do another trial, but this was based for his sanity, and they did find him not guilty by reason of insanity again. However, they sent him back to Central State Mental Hospital for the criminally insane, and this is where Ed pretty much spent the rest of his life, which is just like, wow. Like, I'm sorry, you hear my dog barking. It's just insane that he he did this. And the thing is that all of these things didn't happen until after his mom passed away. But growing up, they said he had strange mannerisms. So I don't know, like, did he really only start to kill and mutilate bodies after his mom passed away? Like, I wonder if there's a strong possibility that he's done things like that prior to the two women that they found and him digging up graves. Like, this is just, it's insane. So, July 26, 1984, Ed Gein passed away at the age of 77 due to respiratory failure, and secondary was, I believe, lung cancer. Now, there are so many different movies out there that are loosely based off of Ed's story and what he has done. The most, well, a lot of these, some of them I'm gonna name are quite popular, but the one that stands out the most is Psycho and Norman Bates. Now, if you've seen Psycho, you know that Norman Bates was pretty much like Ed. You know how Norman felt about his mother. He was crazy about his mother. And so that character, Norman Bates in Psycho, is loosely based off of Ed. Leatherface Man in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs. So there have been several movies that, you know, they heard this story about Ed Gein and they created these movies and these characters based off of him. Now, I remember I heard about this story with Ed last summer. I was watching something on TV. It was some kind of documentary about him. I can't remember for the life of me what channel it was that I was watching, but I remember watching it. I recorded it. I watched it maybe a few days later. So I remember about hearing about this, and I just thought it was crazy that there was another person, not another person, but there was a person out there that literally would take human skin and make things out of them. Crazy to me, crazy to me. But that is the story of Ed Gein and how he literally is like the Norman Bates. Like, he did those things. He dug up graves. He made, he took human skin and he made household items out of them. What he did to poor Bernice Worden, oh my God, that is just insane. He killed Mary Hogan. I mean, this story is just like insane, the things that he did. But please leave me a comment below and tell me, what do you think about this story? Like, is this one of the craziest true crime stories you've ever heard? And if not, leave a comment below and tell me what is more crazier than this one, because I need to look that up and I need to do a video on it. But yeah, so that is my true crime story time about Ed Gein and how he's like the real life Norman Bates. It's crazy, it's insane. But I hope you guys enjoyed this story time. Like I said, every week I want to come to you with a true crime story time. So if you have a suggestion of a story that you think I should look up and I should make a video about, please don't be shy. Leave a comment below, name that story, and also tell me, what did you think about today's story? So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or evening whenever you are watching this video. And be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in my very next video. Bye.